Good evening, everyone. I'm here to tackle Lesson 7. Our topic is all about 1899 Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines, Malolos Convention. We must first read the preface before proceeding. Preamble. We, the representatives of the Filipino people, lawfully convened in order to establish justice, provide for common defense, promote the general welfare, and ensure the benefits of liberty, imploring the aid of the sovereign legislator of the universe, the attainment of these ends, have voted, decreed, and sanctioned the following. What does the preamble mean? It encourages love and passion for our country, the Philippines. It shows significant messages about our deep roles and responsibilities to every Filipino and the society. As a free nation, we must act and spend our liberty with responsibility, focusing on love of country, peace, and unity. Let's move on to political constitution. What is political constitution? The political constitution of 1899, informally known as the Malolos Constitution, was the constitution of the First Philippine Republic. The constitution placed limitations on a supervised freedom of action by the chief executive, which would have hampered rapid decision making. The Malolos Station and the first important flying document overproduced by the people's representatives, it is anchored in democratic traditions that ultimately had the roots in American set. It created a Filipino state whose government was popular, representative, and responsible with three branches: the executive, the legislative, and judicial. The Constitution specifically provided for safeguards against abuses and enumerated the national and individual. It's not only the Filipinos and of the aliens. The legislative powers were exercised by the Assembly of Representatives, composed of delegates elected according to law. To make the function of Congress continuous, a document provided for permanent commission, which would ask a lawmaking body when Congress was not a session. The Assembly elected the President of the Republic. The Cabinet, composed of secretaries of different departments of the government, was responsible not to the President but to the Assembly. The administration of party was vested in the Supreme Courts and established according to law. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court was to be elected by the Assembly with the concurrence of the President and the Cabinet. So, what is the purpose of Malolos Constitution? The Constitution is specifically provided for safeguards against abuses and enumerated the national and individual rights not only of the Filipinos and the aliens. The legislative powers were exercised by the Assembly of Representatives, composed of delegates elected according to law. What is the purposes of Constitution? Constitution of a country is the accumulation of documents and articles that make up a big document, which we call the Constitution. It holds the ultimate existence of the nation and its people. The main aim of the Constitution is to make sure that the people and the government get the rights they were promised for. Here are some articles of the Republic. Article 1 of the Republic. The political association of all Filipinos constitutes a nation, whose state shall be known as the Philippine Republic. Article 1. The political association of all Filipinos, regardless of ethnicity, constitutes a nation whose state shall be named the Republic of the Philippines. Accordingly, the Republic, number 1, recognizes the rights of indigenous people and cultural communities within the framework of indissoluble unity of the Filipino nation, the common and indivisible homeland of all Filipinos. Number 2, guarantees the right of self-government of the ethnicities and regions of which it is composed and solidarity among them all. And number 3, promotes the economic viability of autonomous territories. Let's move on to Article 2. The Republic of the Philippines is free and independent. Accordingly, the Republic shall pursue an independent foreign policy, and in its relation with other states, the paramount consideration shall be national sovereignty, territorial integrity, national interest, and the right to self-determination. Let's move on to Article 3. Sovereignty resides exclusively in the Filipino people, who shall exercise it through their representatives and by means of referendum and petitions. Let's have a look at some government articles. Article number 4. The government of Republic is popular, representative, alternative, and responsible, and shall exercise three distinction powers, namely the legislative, the executive, and judicial. Any two or more of these three powers shall never be united in one person or cooperation, nor the legislative power vested in one single individual. The Philippine government takes place an organized framework of presidential and democratic republic whereby the president is both the head of state and the head of government. The system revolves around three separate and sovereign yet interdependent branches. The Philippine government takes place in an organized framework of presidential and democratic republic whereby the president is both the head of state and the head of government. This system revolves around three separate and sovereign yet interdependent branches: the legislative branch, the law-making body; the executive branch, the law-enforcing body; and the judicial branch, the law-interpreting body. Presenting the three interdependent branches. So, what does it mean? Executive power is exercised by the government under the leadership of President. Legislative power is vested in both the government and two-chamber Congress, the Senate, the upper chamber, and the House of Representatives, the lower chamber. Judicial power is vested in the courts, with the Supreme Court of the Philippines as the highest judicial body. So, let me explain about executive branch. The executive branch is headed by the president, who functions as both the head of state and the head of government. The president is also the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the Philippines. The president is elected by popular vote to a term of 6 years. The president then appoints and may dismiss his or her cabinet members whom he presides over. The executive set of the government is administered officially from Malacanang Palace, also the official residence of President in Manila. The President may no longer run for re-election unless he becomes President through constitutional succession and has served for no more than 4 years as President. The second highest official, the Vice President, is first in line to succession should the President resign, be impeached, or die in office. The President usually do not always be a member of the President Cabinet. If there is a vacancy in the position of Vice President, the President will appoint any member of Congress, usually a party member. As a new Vice President, the appointment will be validated by the 3/4 vote of Congress voting separately. So, what is legislative branch? The remainder of the houses are designated for sector representatives elected at large through a complex party list system, hinging on the party receiving at least 2% to 6% of national vote total. The upper house is located in Pasay City, while the lower house is located in Quezon City. The district and sectoral representatives are elected with a term of 3 years. They can be re-elected, but they are no longer eligible to run for a fourth consecutive term. The senators are elected to a term of 6 years. They can be re-elected, but they are no longer eligible to run for a third consecutive term. The House of Representatives may opt to pass a resolution for a vacancy of legislative seat that will pave way for a special election. The winner of the special election will serve the unfinished term of the previous district representative. This will be considered as one elective term. The same rule applies in the Senate, however, it only applies if the seat of vacated before a regular legislative election. So what is judiciary branch? The judiciary branch of the government is headed by the Supreme Court, which has a Chief Justice as its head and 14 associate justices, all appointed by the President on the recommendation of the Judicial and Bar Council. Other court types of courts of varying jurisdiction around the archipelago are the lower collegiate courts, Court of Appeals, Court of Tax Appeals, Sandigan Bayan, regular courts, and regional trial courts, metropolitan trial courts, municipal trial courts in cities, municipal circuit trial courts, and Muslim courts, Sharia district courts, and Sharia circuit courts. That's all. Now, let us go on to some religion articles. Article 5. The state recognizes the freedom and equality of all religions as well as the separation of the church and the state. And its Declaration of Principles, the 1987 Philippine Constitution provides for the separation of church and state. While the principle honors distinctions between temporal and spiritual functions, both church and state maintain a unique and cooperative relationship geared towards the common good. This ends of my explanation. I hope you have gained some insight into my topic. Thank you.